Hi, heart types. How are you doing? Leslie Hirschberger here. To tell you, in the interest of full disclosure, I have scissors. I started to get on this, and it's like my bangs are in my face. I'm on the self-cutting portion of the pandemic. You know, uh, big worries, right? So I wanted to just talk with you. I'm just making some videos for each center, and the 2, 3, and 4 center is the doing center. It is the center that tends to be most focused and overconnects to the outer world. And so it's, my focus tends to be, definitely on Enneagram awareness, but more on Enneagram practices and Enneagram transformation, because that's when the rubber hits the road. Knowledge is only so much. You can only follow memes for so long. And the other thing too for you is heart types is there's this way sometimes where your orientation towards outside and over connecting, it's like somebody telling you who you are. And I think it's really important for you in your own Enneagram work is to come home to yourself. And by the way, on Wednesdays, I'm co-facilitating a class called Coming Home during this time to give support for people during this time of crisis. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But you're invited, or anybody's invited. You can drop in when you can, but would love to have you. People have found it really, really helpful. But your tendency is to overconnect on the outside, and it's almost like in spiritual work and Enneagram work, there's this way you can have a goal to get to. Like when I'm working with heart types a lot, it's like, okay, they come in with goals of what we're going to do. Not all of them, but a lot do. Because there's this instinctive energy outside of yourself, out into the environment, and it manifests in this effort to please others who matter to you. Remember, it's who matter to you. And meanwhile, you leave your own personal experience rather than coming home to yourself. It's like, what do they think? And I have to tell you, you need to be kind to yourself about that, because what heart types will tell me is like, if anybody else in the room, that energy is so big, that's where all of my attention and energy goes. I'm watching. I can tell types 2, 3, and 4, because you're conveying this, how do I get this connection? And so there's this ongoing tendency where you're creating reality in order to fit perceived expectations. And sometimes it's your own projected expectations of what others want of you. So what happens is your own authentic experience is getting left. And I've been working with some people where their kids are in the house, and it's a lot. It's a lot, or their partner's in the house and their partner's typically not there. That other energy in the house, particularly if you're used to being alone, it's a lot, and you need to be kind to yourself about it. One mom who was a 2 said, I'm so used to my family. The kids go because I got these tentacles to the outer world that would relax when the kids would go to school, my husband went to work, and that's not happening right now. They're home. So it's like constant that their energy is pulling me out. So, but what happens is if you leave yourself, it gets kind of confusing to be with yourself when others are in the environment. It's a bit easier maybe if you're an introvert, but even if you're alone, and like say you're a 4, you're tending to build in your head an image of how you want others to perceive you or how you should be to others, which is, always has this tendency to make you more vulnerable to guilt in a relationship because you take too much responsibility for the relationship. Even if you're a 4, it's like you have an idealized view of who you're supposed to be in the eyes of the other, whether it's a group, a partner, a family member, one of your kids. So what's the antidote for you, heart types? Well, it's to come home to your own feelings. It's to come home to your own lived experience, your own sadness, your own fear, your own anger. Anger is normal. I think you know that. And the thing about it is it comes and goes. All emotions come and go. I don't know how it is for you, but start paying attention to your emotions. Start paying attention to what happens. And they're like the tides. They come in and they come out. Like yesterday, I was feeling good. I connected to some friends, talked to an old friend where, he was furloughed from his job because of the industry that he's in. Went out with my husband, and then I got this video. My son posted this video on Instagram of his new baby who's 2 months, and I haven't met him yet. And was like, it just slayed me. I said, I wanted to touch him. I want to hug him. I can't. And he started to coo. I wish you could see it. Oh God. And it's just kind of overwhelming. So you know what? I just lost myself right there. I just lost myself thinking about that baby. And we just have a lot of grief right now. There's people we can't touch. I was looking at my mom. I went and greeted my mom yesterday through the window, because the senior living facility where she is, they can't let anybody in. And she just looks so sweet in there. Like she's in there, I've been thinking a lot about my dad today. Today's his birthday. Today would have been my dad's birthday. He was a 2. And I just feel like I so get this heart center where you feel like you have to shapeshift for the environment outside yourself. I mean, just even coming on this call, like I said, I could feel myself like wanting to pick up the scissors and cut my bangs. Like the image thing is still there. It like dances in my head. I live in the United States and it's a very image-oriented country. And so it's like we have to shapeshift. It's exhausting, but it's also an opportunity right now, y'all, where for you, the real antidote, I think it's for all of us, but for you especially, is time alone. You've got to carve it out, whether it's in the morning, whether it's in the evening. And tell your kids, tell people, it's okay. They're not going to, if they think you're weird, like one part types, I don't want them to think I'm weird. You know what? I was really upfront with my kids early on when I started meditating, mostly because I wanted them to have permission to be alone. That was something my mom did for me. It just, she used to say, you need to be alone, Leslie, to putter. I am an extrovert. I'm kind of an introverted extrovert because I like time alone. But if there's other people, I will go towards that a lot. But have you ever felt like you kind of want to come inside and kind of rest? That's for you. Contemplative solitude. It's really important because contemplative time will move you from the compulsion of overconnecting with the outside world. It's your antidote. Walk in nature. Take some time alone. And it's okay to say to people, because when what you're doing, you're modeling for the people in your home, you're modeling that it's okay to be alone, particularly if you're in a real extroverted family. Walk in nature without an agenda. I was thinking about my dad yesterday when I was walking, and he's been gone, I think, since like 2015. And I was thinking about this walk I took with him when I was a kid. And it was just the 2 of us, and he didn't talk the whole time. And do you know how much I remember that talk or that walk? We just didn't talk the whole entire time. And I loved it. And then you can take in nature as it is. And he was a 2. That was like a big deal to me. It was like he was in himself. I loved it. And I just noticed the trees. I noticed the sky. I could hear the birds. That's a gift you can give to yourself. Is you don't have to shapeshift. There are no facial cues to look for, no body cues, no words to offer feedback on how you're doing because you're the doing center, is that walk. And another thing is to really hone in on this doing function and notice how it invades you and causes you to acclimate and shapeshift for the environment, where you kind of imitate and sense what's expected of you. Like for 2s, you kind of are a homing pigeon for needs. For 3s, it's like this, I've got to be efficient and successful. 3s are really struggling right now, particularly if you're furloughed, you're laid off, if your income stream has been affected. It just compromises your self-identity. And even if not, you're looking at, it's all about success, and you're looking at this global economy, looking what's happening. It's scary stuff. Make space for your anxiety. I can't tell you how important it is. A lot of times I'll sit with heart types and I will have them write down. I give them this feelings inventory. It's from nonviolent communication. And on one side, it has feelings, positive feelings if my needs are met. The other side, hard feelings if my needs aren't met. And sometimes for 3s, I'll have them turn over and look at the hard feeling stuff because it doesn't feel successful to have these hard feelings. And when they slow down, I drop in and I say, what are you noticing in your body? Is your jaw tight? Oh yeah, no, I didn't know that. Do you feel like anxiety in your heart or in the belly? What is the feeling? Write it down. Allow yourself to give some space to that very human feeling. And it's kind of like, welcome to the human race. Welcome to shame. Welcome to sadness. Be mindful, like, what are your feelings right now? What are you noticing in yourself right now? Just notice. Just pause. What am I noticing? And write it down. And you don't have to curate it. I found sometimes, I was talking with a millennial one time, and she said, my generation is really wary of, shellacked marketing. She goes, it's all about authenticity. And we were talking about how heart types can almost curate their authenticity. So just notice when you're curating, which means you're kind of deleting this feeling. This one's okay to put out there. What if you feel some joy? You're a 4 and you're feeling some joy, which, by the way, I just want to say this. Don't let Enneagram descriptions conflate all of who you are. I know a lot of 4s. Yes, 4s will sometimes say, yeah, I complain a lot. I'll see the negative. But I know a lot of them who experience a lot of joy and are like gratitude. They experience gratitude. I know 3s who are, they'll always seem all upbeat and optimistic, who are really in touch with their sadness. All right. So be mindful of having to fit yourself even into an Enneagram description, because that can get curated. Have you ever gotten a massage? Those are really good for you right now, and you can't have them right now because we can't be touched by someone else. I mean, one heart type last week just wept over that missing of human touch. All right. So allow yourself, in Ayurvedic medicine, I learned a lot about Ayurvedic medicine a number of years ago. One of their practices is self-massage. Get some oil. What does it feel when you give yourself a massage? If feelings come up, just notice and just drop in and make sure it's like really, really tender, where you're kind to yourself. A self-massage, touch. Because a lot of times touch moves feelings through the body. Every feeling we have is housed in the body. And because you're the doing center, where your attention's outside of you, a lot of those inner feelings that are in the body get left. That's why somatic awareness and somatic experience is crucial for you, because the body doesn't lie. You could say, I'm fine. Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm really great. I'm gonna. And then I slow people down in my office, and this next thing you know, they're like, why do you make me cry? It's not that I made them cry. It's that you slowed down and you felt the feelings you don't allow yourself. All right. And so it's like, where does that feeling live in my body? Oh my God, my heart's really tight. Oh, my stomach feels kind of nauseous. Okay. It's like accelerator. I'm really anxious. God, I can't even feel my feet. All right. Sit back, check in. Where am I now in my body? That's a great practice for you. Have you ever read any of Pema Chodron? She is a really great Tibetan Buddhist teacher. And she's I happen to know she's a 2 on the Enneagram. And make friends with what you reject, she says. Isn't that just like a great way, like for a connector like you, to just make friends with what you tend to reject in yourself? Be generous with what you cherish. See it as good. And touch that sadness, touch those harder feelings, what's been buried in yourself. Because she says what it does is it awakens bodhicitta. And in Buddhism, that's called the awakened heart. And I want to share something she says. She says the basic message of these teachings is that if it's painful, you can hold your seat and move closer to the pain. Reverse your usual pattern, which is to split, which is to escape into doing for y'all. Go against the grain, hold your seat. And if it's painful, you become willing not just to endure it, but to waken your heart and let it soften you. I love that language. It's so good for you. You learn to embrace it. And you know how sometimes when you soften, it can feel overwhelming to you? See if you can just breathe in and maybe touch your heart and actually put your hand on your heart. There's actual research that tends to calm your system. All right. And whether it's pain or whether it's pleasure, through this practice, you come to be able to sense your experience rather than trying to manipulate it, rather than trying to control it. And I will tell you what, it awakens something in you, and it's about your experience, not what you think you're supposed to be feeling based on someone else articulates it. And that brings me to another one of your patterns, is guilt. you tend to take too much responsibility for relationship, for your staff, for your boss, for your workmates, for your kids, your partner. You take too much responsibility for relationship. And what's the practice from that is to pause and notice it. Come back home to yourself and reflect on what's theirs to carry and what's yours. Not in a blamey way, rather, what's yours over there to carry? What's mine to be with? All right, that, yeah, maybe I hurt somebody here. All right, and give some space for that. Breathe into it. Awaken bodhicitta. Okay, then doing inner child work is really, really good for you too. I know one who told me, I used to wake up and think, what should I feel guilty about today? I mean, that's where you start to realize it's like, it's the habit. All right. Soften, just that self-massage, right? Experience that inner child. And it's like, sometimes I've got to tell you, y'all, I get a little nervous about giving heart types like assignments because you're so goal-oriented, or I wouldn't even say goal-oriented, but doing-oriented. All right. Where you like to cross something off the list. That's not it. Activity is that's your habit. That's your go-to. And it's not a bad thing because, man, we need you on the planet and you get a lot of stuff done. Right. But it's not all. And self-compassion is crucial. Allowing your humanness is crucial. And I have to tell you, one of the best practices for y'all is to be with you where you are. And if that feels like too much, go ahead and try to do some yoga. It might be really helpful for you right now without a goal in mind, without feeling like I've got to look like the teacher on the screen. All right. Come home, feel your own experience in your own body. Allow it to move you. If emotions move through, this is a time you can simply make space for them. Allow them. I have to tell you, I do this yoga practice where after my meditation, I get up and I do sun salutations. And I say this prayer of St. Francis. And I kid you not, and I'm not a heart type, but I can't tell you how often it evokes tears in me. There's just something about moving that evokes emotion. And it allows it to move it through your body. And you'll find afterwards, sometimes, not always, don't rely on my experience, come home to yours. Sometimes afterwards, I feel more grounded. It's like some of those emotions have gotten some space to move through. So yoga, creative dawdling, doodling, not performative, not trying to get it right, but tending to that inner child in you that felt like they had to shapeshift for the outer environment. Tending to your felt experience in the present moment, where you don't have to shapeshift for anybody else, and come back home to yourself and awaken that bodhicitta, that awakened heart inside of you. If you're from the Christian tradition, perhaps awakening the sacred heart of the Christ. All right. If religion is not your jam, or if you've been wounded by it in some way, awaken the heart that's your birthright. The one that's, you think of the innocence, like the innocence of my grandson. That little heart just takes in the world as it is. He's not shape-shifted for anyone. That's why we're so attracted sometimes to these to children, right? Because they're not shape-shifting. And that's what I'm going to really invite you to do during this time, y'all, is to just really be aware of the shape-shifting and come home to yourself. So Wednesday mornings, we're going to be doing these groups, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And sometimes we end early. And if you have to leave early, by God, leave. But the beginning, we do the inner practice. And then I do a teaching. And tomorrow I'm going to be working on our resources. Today is April 7th, my dad's birthday. And so tomorrow we're going to be working on some of these inner resources. And yeah, I'd love to have you. Registration's below. If you're a heart type, write down, share your experience. What are your resources? What are your practices? What's transformational for you? Share them with us, okay? And we'll check them out. So much gratitude. Hang in there. Allow the array of human feelings today. Y'all just welcome to the human race, right? And take care.